Hello, it's Heather from the Reading Mama, and I'm going to give you my February wrap up. Well, I'm going to give you part of it because actually I read 29 books this month. I gave you half of them about the midway point. I'll give you the other half now. Why? I don't know. There's just a lot of books. I read so much this month and I've enjoyed it. How am I reading so many books at this time? A lot of audiobooks, a lot of audiobooks, a couple of sleepless nights that I don't completely regret. So I do have a baby who has you know, you can't guess how she's going to sleep at night. And so I do end up reading more a lot of times because of that. And then also I have not been watching TV. My husband and I used to be very big on TV and movies. And I just haven't been doing that. I've been forcing myself to read. And part of that is knowing, you know, okay, I can't necessarily read a nonfiction at bedtime because my brain starts to shut down. But fantasy, sure, I can do that. High fantasy, maybe not. But it just kind of depends on the book, if it grips me. And having lots of options available helps me to do that. So without further ado, let's go through some of the books that I finished the month with. So I had several challenges, and I'll link them below, or they should be linked below. I don't know. And that includes Chantel Read Your Bookshelf Challenge. And the prompt, or no, not that one. I did read one for that. I'll find it here in a minute. Here it is. I'll go ahead and do it. So Read Your Bookshelf Challenge was 3 or more items on the cover. So I read The Storyteller's Daughter by Victoria McCombs. And there is a spindle, there's a crown, there are some plants, some little starbursts, all that. And so, that's what's going on in this particular, that was that prompt. But I am trying to read Victoria McCombs 2.0. I've read 6 books now by her and I love it. These is going back to like some of her very first publications. And I know when you know that, you can take into account that, okay, there's going to be some learning curves as the author grows. But I still really love this. This is a Rumpelstiltskin retelling and I really loved it because it was sweet, innocent, clean, nothing that was just, you know, vulgar or grotesque or anything. A young girl, the whole kingdom has magic, and she's the only one in the entire kingdom who doesn't actually have, you know, a special skill or whatever. And I loved that aspect of it because then her father is a storyteller. That's his gift. And he says, you know, she can spin straw into gold. And he's just saying that she can make things good out of nothing, you know. She works hard. He's being a sweet father, you know. Well, the royal guards misunderstand and think that's for real, and she gets captured and is forced to do that. And of course, Rumpelstiltskin comes along, and there's a whole big story that goes along with it. With the royal family and some issues going on there, and obviously a lot of corruption and authority and things, but it was very sweet, very innocent, and I really appreciated how Victoria did this. This is part of a 4-part fairy tale series, so I have the next one coming and I'm excited to read it. But I really did enjoy this if you're looking for a retelling. It was perfect for February, and it was just a good, fun read. Chantel's other reading challenge is the Indie Book Club Challenge, and that was the one I was trying to get to. And the book for this month was Crown of Beauty and Anarchy by Aurora. And overall, I really enjoyed the book. I loved the redemption arc. I loved some of the characters in it. I love that it's like magicless Snow White retelling. So there's no magic in it, but you have Snow White placed in the 12th century with a Queen Matilda story, which I didn't know beforehand. I did look up a little bit. And I did read the author's note because I'm always reading the author's note. I actually also always read the acknowledgements now. That's just who I've become. But I really, really did enjoy that part of it. I appreciated the faith aspects of it. Some of the characters felt a little bit flat for me. Specifically the main character, I feel like there were just times where she was lacking. Like something could have been said, she could have been developed better. And also the prince, you know, I feel like it was a little too bland. It could have been better. But overall, I love the story. This is one I would give to my kids. I think it would be fine for them to read. And I feel like the violence and the heartache in it is not too much or overdone. I really did enjoy it. But like I said, some of the characters I feel like could have gone a little bit more. But it is a stunning cover. Great story. Love the mashup of historical fiction with a fairy tale retelling. Really enjoyed that. Another book that I read was another retelling, and this was audiobook, and I read Furthermore by Tahara Mafi, and this is an Alice in Wonderland retelling, and I really enjoyed it. If you're looking for a middle grade March book, go check it out. In this story, and now I can't think of what the main character's name is. Oh, is it Alice? Maybe it is Alice. It might be Alice. I think it's Alice. But it's again in a magical kingdom, and everybody has different powers and magics, and she supposedly, somewhat we think, doesn't have any. She has no color. Everybody in her kingdom has color, lots of bright, vibrant, and she's white. She has no color. You can see it in the image here. And she goes to a testing time and she falls flat, and she didn't, pass and get the challenge that was of her age. And she's very disappointed about that. And a friend of hers is trying to get her to not do that, but to instead come on an adventure with him to go and save her father, who's been missing for a while. And so that ends up happening. They go through several different realms, so to speak. And it's a lot of nonsense and silliness and just some cute witticisms. Tara Mafi has some amazing, yes, she's the queen of yearning. I get that in her YA books, but she has some great witticisms and just phenomenal writing. And so Furthermore was really, really good. And yeah, I'm not going to give you too much more, but there is a sequel to it that does not include Alice. So there's that. Next, I read Nature of Small Birds. And I read this as part of my perfect pairings. I've been trying to read some Vietnam historical fiction as my kids are studying Vietnam and America. And I did not expect to love this book as much as I did. And actually, when I was thinking of my favorite books for the month, I kind of forgot about this one. And now I'm like, oh, is it? Maybe it might be. This is a phenomenal story. And Chantal has talked about it several times. And I always was it was, sitting there on my TBR like, maybe I'll do it. Maybe I'll do it. No, phenomenal. This was my second Susie Fink binder. My first one I talked about last month, and I absolutely loved it. This is also phenomenal, even more so. So you follow 3 different timelines, and you follow a husband, and oh my goodness, his timeline is beautiful. And he's in 2013. And you follow his daughter, Sunny, in 1988, and his wife, Linda, in 1975. So it's their family story throughout. And they have Sunny as a daughter, and then they also adopted Mindy, who is a part of the Operation Baby Lift from Vietnam. And so it's telling her her story through their eyes. And it is a beautiful, beautiful story of love and heartache and just so much going on, because I just don't even know how to explain it, because Sunny's dealing with the growing up, moving on, and then realizing, oh, this is different from my sister. My sister is having different things going on. And I don't know. There's a lot of healing and beautiful things of coming of age for her story. And then Linda is a young wife who's just adopted a baby because she's had so much trouble having babies, and her kind of dealing with motherhood is so relatable because, she fails sometimes and she deals with the pressures of other people and her husband, and oh my goodness, it's just so sweet. Also, and then the husband as the now patriarch, the grandfather, and dealing with his ailing mother who is sick, and dealing with the dementia, and then his wife who's never been accepted by his mother, and then his daughter who's going through a divorce. Mindy's going through a divorce and trying to figure all these things out. And oh my goodness, so many faith elements without it being too specific, focusing on just the nature of God and God in nature and his place in their family and just the different kinds of love. I don't know. This is just phenomenal. This is going to be a definite reread for me because I was bawling throughout, and it was just so precious and so sweet, and I absolutely loved it. So you want to check out Nature of Small Birds. Thank you, Chantal, for that recommendation. I should always trust your recommendations. She and we are kindred spirits. Then I read The Hunt of Calypso by Erin Phillips. Now, this is not available yet. It will not be available until April, but I am a part of her street teams, and so I got to read it. I will put a graphic up there. It is the sequel to Betrayal of Eden, part of the Grimoire and Key trilogy. And Betrayal of Eden, which I talked about in my previous mid-month wrap-up, was really good. I really enjoyed it. It's a Count of Monte Cristo retelling. This is the first the betrayal part, right? And then Hunt of Calypso is the next installment. And I don't want to tell you too much, especially if you haven't read Betrayal of Eden, but it is even better than Betrayal of Eden. It is phenomenal. Aaron Phillips is one of my favorite rising authors, indie author. Just beautiful faith elements without, it's like a fantasy story, a Count of Monte Cristo retelling, but you can see these little elements of faith and trusting, even in these fantastical worlds that are not, you know, I love it. I love so many things about it, and I don't want to spoil anything. But there are pirates, magical pirates, and let me see what I wrote here. Magical pirates, redemption, revenge. Eden and Hunter are in it, and the villain in the first book also reappears, and they're magical pirates. There you go. That's what I'm going to give you. All right, and then I listened to Long March Home by Marcus. I don't remember his name. Sorry. I'll put it up here. Tosca and Mark or Marcus, something or other. I only remember because I was looking for Tosca books. Sorry, Mark. But this was phenomenal. Gruesome, gritty, hard, not for kids. But Long March Home tells the story of 3 military men in the Philippines when the Japanese come, and their time in the Bataan, and then in concentration camps and a lot of other hardships. It was a mashup of a lot of different military men's experiences. It was a great, hard-hitting historical fiction, not for children. Gruesome, gritty, some swearing, not much. A few references to women, not much. But it was just, I was bawling because you've got the friendship and the betrayal and all these things, all these different components that come in, and it was just beautiful, and the ending is beautiful and heart-wrenching, and you think it's gonna zig and it zags, and it was a good historical fiction. I really appreciated it. And then I did several more retellings. So I read some Melanie Dickerson's The Maiden Warrior, which I love. This is a reread. I did audiobook version. And it's a Mulan retelling, and I really enjoy it. I think I've talked about it last year and then in another video, but basically you have Mulan, and I realized later on this is all part of a big series from Melanie Dickerson, so sorry. But Mulan is adopted from the East by her father, who had a liaison over there, and when her mother died, he brought her home. Then his Lithuanian wife raises her. He dies, but the story of, Mulan, he's got to go to the battle or they're going to lose their home. And so she goes in his stead, and it has some really great faith elements. It has a beautiful, beautiful love story. It's super sweet. Absolutely enjoy it. It is so far my favorite Melanie Dickerson, because after that I read The Huntress of Thornbeck, and it kind of fell flat. It's a Swan Princess meets Robin Hood retelling, kind of historical fiction, medieval story. And I didn't super love it. It had very much Ever After vibes. What did I put here? It was like Robin Hood meets Swan Princess meets Ever After. Yeah, it wasn't, some of the characters fell flat. Some of the storyline felt a little too stretched. She's hunting against the law to provide for the poor. Her family betrays her. Falls in love with a young man. Yeah, wasn't super impressed. But I did love the Warrior Maiden by Melanie Dickerson. Then I read Divine Rivals and its sequel, which I have in the other room because it's a library book and it needs to go back today. Divine Rivals and Ruthless Vows, read them in a day each. Loved it. Fun, cute, mostly clean. 1 chapter or like 2 pages, and like, it's their wedding night. I get it, whatever. Okay, but unnecessary. Let's see here. It's writers with epic gods at war. And there's a love story, forced separation, and yeah, it very much is You've Got Mail vibes, to the point where I put You've Got Mail on hold at the library, because I'm like, I need to watch that, because they're enchanted letters that they write back to each other and don't necessarily know who's writing to whom at first, and then yeah, all kinds of, it's very intense. It goes fast. It's a quick fun read. I really did enjoy it. I'll be reading more Rebecca Ross in the future, I think. Don't know if I'll be purchasing it, but I did enjoy it. It was a good, fun kind of palate cleanser read. And I did read both of the duology and enjoyed that. Then I read American Vietnam, and again, I don't have the book right here, even though I own the book, but my daughter's reading it. It's a nonfiction by Albert Marin that I have talked about a couple of times. I really enjoy it. Albert Marin is phenomenal historical writing. I just love his nonfiction books. They're great for some middle grade, some high school adults. I enjoy them. He writes so well that you feel like it's a story, even though it's a history book giving you a lot of information. This particular book made me angry. I did not study Vietnam War in high school. Basically, we studied through World War II to get through the AP test, and then it was like, okay, now we're done. And so everything after that is like brand new information to me. And so even in college, they didn't cover it very much. It was a blip. And his books make their living history. They make it come alive. And I absolutely loved it. Hated it because of all the horrible things. The thing I like about Albert Marin is he is not yeah, America, we did everything right. No, he shows both sides. He is showing this is where America failed. This is where Vietnam failed. This is where Vietnam, hey, they kind of got it right here. This is where, and he goes back and forth and shows both sides. And he makes sure that you know that nobody is completely fallible in that situation. And I really loved it. I wish I had the book with me because the last paragraph was phenomenal. But he just is a phenomenal writer, just amazing. It is gruesome. It is gritty. There is some language because you're taking direct quotes from guys in the 70s. You're going to get language. There are a few photographs in it. Nothing too, they're black and white. So I think there's one, which is a woman who's topless, who's been just ravaged by war. But otherwise, there's nothing too gruesome imagery wise. But the writing, telling about their experiences is just, it's hard. It's heartbreaking. There was one particular section that I told my teenager not to read because she is a bit of a sensitive reader, not too sensitive. But I didn't want her to, she struggles with nightmares, and I didn't want her to have that because it tells about the horrible torture forms. And so if you're going to give it to a kid, I would encourage you to pre-read it. And then I read an audiobook, and Sue Jackson actually recommended it in one of her recent videos as one of the top 5 audiobooks. It was called Butterfly Yellow, and it just happened to be about Vietnam. So I loved it. I'll go more. I'm going to make a whole video about all my Vietnam books that I've been enjoying, but great audiobook. I would have struggled if it was a physical book because of the pronunciations, because you have a young girl who's a refugee from Vietnam and she's in America and she's struggling with the language barrier. And so you've got not only the Vietnamese words, but then trying to pronounce the English words in Texas. So you have a lot of that going on, and the audiobook is just phenomenal for it. It would be not young adult, but new adult is what I would say, because they're 18 years old. There's a couple of references of him being aroused. Unnecessary. Why do authors do that? Anyways, but this young girl has a refugee, and she's finally arrived in America, and she's desperate to find her brother who had come to America 6 years ago. And she ends up hanging out with this young man who desperately wants to be a cowboy and be on the rodeo, and they get stuck together. So you got that forced proximity on this trek to go find her brother. Gets there, her brother wants nothing to do with her. And just a beautiful testimony of love and acceptance. And it was such a good story. I just sat and crocheted and listened to it the whole night the other night because it was just such a phenomenal story. And I did appreciate that. There's a couple mild swearing, and then like literally 3 mentions of him being aroused, which is unnecessary, but I did love that. And then I have one more book. I'll be done. But Pearl in the Sand by Tessa Afshar. Phenomenal. I don't know how I've gone so long knowing, well, I do actually, because I said I don't like romance books and I don't like Christian books, so I'm not going to read a Christian romance book. What? I was wrong. I stand corrected. This is phenomenal writing. This is the most beautiful love story. Oh my goodness. This is a story of the love between a man and a woman, the story of love between a family, a story of love for God. This is phenomenal. This is also amazing Christian fiction because you have so much of the, sorry, I'm trying to get my foot, it fell asleep. So much phenomenal writing about Rahab. This is a Rahab retelling, and her coming to trust in the Lord, her not loving the wicked pagan gods of Jericho, and the way that she became a harlot. Is that 100% accurate to Bible? No, 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 no. We just know she was a harlot. We don't know her backstory or anything like that, but I love this. This is a beautiful reimagining of it. And it helps, I don't know. Because in the Bible, you know that she not only saved the Hebrew spies in Jericho, but that she then and her family go away. I'll be there in a minute. She and her family are rescued when Jericho falls. And that later you find out she has not only been saved, but she is now part of the lineage of Christ. And you think, what? How did that happen? And Tessa does a great job of reimagining it. And what I love is that she takes this to the point where she falls in love with a man and gets married. But she doesn't stop there. She goes through the marriage. She talks about the hardships of that marriage on both sides. And it is just so beautiful. Definitely, this and Nature of Small Birds are contenders for my favorite books for the month because it was just so beautiful. I'm like crying every page. My husband's like, are you all right? I'm like, it's just so beautiful. So yes, I highly recommend Pearl and Sand, and I am excited to read more Tessa Afshar. So that is my reading wrap up. It is not all the books, but it is most of them, and some of the ones I want to talk about. If you have any questions about any of these, or you have comments, drop below. If you want to talk about any of these books, drop below. I love talking books. That's why I'm here, why I'm showing up. If you have any books that by the authors that I shared, please, I'm pointing up here like they're up there. If you have any comments or suggestions by these authors, let me know, because right now I'm hoping to read this one to 0 and this one to 0, and I might even read her to 0 just because she doesn't have too many yet. But I am and I'm also reading, where is she? Erin Phillips to 0. I only have one book left. But I am really loving these awesome female authors. Many of them are Christian, and I am just loving it. So if you have suggestions, drop them below. And thank you so much for watching, and have a blessed day.